This is Investment Perspectives with Brad Kimes, daily live streaming interactive, featuring Mrs. Backup. Subscribe, hit the notification, smash the likes. Now, here's Backup Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Investment Perspectives. I wanted to put together a video. I don't normally put one out on Saturdays, but I feel compelled because I've talked about some of this stuff, I think, in pieces and parts in different videos. And I just felt some clarity today about the things that we've speculated on, and I wanted to try to organize them all in one video. We're going to talk about XRP and XLM and how I believe that the picture may be becoming clearer, that we will see stable coins off of these assets. And I think potentially the importance of that will be recreating or creating for the first time a true bond market for digital assets as a whole. And we'll talk about that importance as well. Let's get started. Lots to cover, and I want to try to keep it condensed for you guys. Okay, if we look at this video here, I did a video back here where it was called Who Controls Bitcoin? And I had United States, China, Russia, Japan, UK. I do believe that the whales that control Bitcoin are countries. You guys know, if you watch the channel a lot, I've made no secret about the fact that I don't think that that's rich guys on yachts controlling Bitcoin. I believe it to be countries, and I believe it makes sense because countries want to control the whole entire digital asset market, because it will be a brand new digital asset class introduced into the new traditional commodities market at some point, and I think sooner rather than later. But in knowing that and understanding that, I do believe it is in those countries' best interest to protect their money and their fiat and their government-controlled money and power by controlling the entire digital asset market, by controlling one coin, and that's Bitcoin, which does have dominance over the entire market. Now, if you let me have my head for a minute and you just let that be for a second, that's obviously huge speculation, but I do believe that. Let's drill down on why that might be, other than just to protect the currencies of the government and their power and sovereign rights. I think if you drill down on it a little further, it's also a tool. Because if you look at what XRP's accomplishments have been with the World Economic Forum, and knowing full well that they have, and I'm going to pull that up while we talk here really quickly, WEF, Policy Toolmaker Kit. You guys can obviously find that as well. And if you realize that we've been down into this World Economic Forum paper very heavily here, knowing that it is the Policy Toolmaker Kit from the January World Economic Forum, where they outline the framework of how central banks in general are to design their central bank digital currencies. And if you look right here, you can clearly see that for inter and intrabank payments and settlement, they recommend examples of JPM coin and XRP. So between central banks, inside of central banks, the answer is clearly XRP here. Knowing that that is an international level of business and finance. Okay, let's be clear about that. Now, I want to pull up an image here, and let me make sure I've got the right one to start with. It's this one right here. Okay. Looking at XLM and XRP, I think it's important to understand that XLM, Jeb McCaleb is the original creator of the XRP ledger. When he left, it was not a fork. He was gifted and allowed to take the code that he created with him. So I know that there's been many changes to the XRP ledger since Jed has left. It is the original beginnings of the XRP ledger. When we look at the two side by side, what starts to become clear to me is that XLM could be a domestic asset, and obviously it can be used all across the world. But the focal point of its use, I'm starting to see a domestic use, and we're going to get into that. And XRP, as I just showed you with the World Economic Forum, I'm starting to see a more international use through finance. And all of this, by the way, is in the understanding and perspective of finance use. It doesn't mean, well, I can use, I don't want anybody to send me emails, well, I can send Stellar to Europe and that's international. Of course you can. What I'm talking about is in the focal point of finance and settlement of payments and transactions here. And obviously, these assets can be used domestically or internationally, both of them. But in the perspective of finance, stay with me here. Okay, so now we know that Ripple is the company behind XRP. It is now referred to as a blockchain infrastructure company. It is also a for-profit company that does intend to IPO sometime in the future. I just showed you the WEF Policy Toolmaker Kit, and it shows inter and intrabank settlement for CBDCs. Coming over to the XLM side, I'm showing seeing a domestic use here. Interstellar Organization is behind it. It is a nonprofit. Recently, Zelle founder joins Interstellar. Okay, the Zelle payment app. Now you may say to yourself, well, that's not that big of a deal, is it? Because per some direction and conversations I've had with DAI, myself, and Big Skinny as well, shout out to both of those guys for a little bit of direction on this. Zelle founder joins interstellar.org. Zelle came from Early Warning Services, LLC. Well, this gets interesting. What is Early Warning Services, LLC? Well, it's a fintech company. Really? And who owns that fintech company called Early Warning Services, LLC? Well, it's 7 of the countries, the United States' largest banks own that LLC. Huh. That's right. The Bank of America, BB&T, Capital One, JP Morgan, and the PNC, US Bank, and Wells Fargo. Now, interestingly enough, we know back when we went to Swell, right before Swell happened, David Schwartz announced that we can launch stablecoins off the XRP ledger. I talked extensively with David about it while I was at Swell. Recently, we have seen, courtesy of Digital Asset Investor, Jed McCaleb has announced that Stellar is now offering to launch stablecoins off of their ledger. Well, isn't this interesting? I think a lot of people might be at a spot right now where they say, I don't get it. Where are we going here? If the digital assets, XLM and XRP, are interoperable, what's the big deal about a stable coin? Well, I think the big deal here is this. One, I think XLM could become a general stable coin, a regular stable coin. Two, I think XRP has the ability to become a global stable coin. Let me go to this document right here. This document is from the Financial Stability Board, which is an oversight body connected to the G20. The G20 is a collection of the largest countries with the largest economies in the world that tell every other country what the rules on the planet are. Don't believe it, it's still true. Addressing regulatory, supervisory, and oversight challenges raised by global stablecoin arrangements. In this document, it goes down here and says they will be accepting comments, public comments on these documents and these things until July 15th, and they will issue a final report about all of this matter by October 2020. Going through this They give amazing definitions of the different kinds of stable coins that exist. And for the first time ever in the 3 years plus I've been in this space, they give a definition of what is a global stable coin. Now, I can tell you, I've heard global reserve currency, I've heard bridge asset, I've heard global asset, bridge asset, the whole combination. I have never heard those two words strung together the entire time I've been in this space until this document from the FSB G20. A stable coin with the potential reach and adoption across multiple jurisdictions and the potential to achieve substantial volume. This is unlike a regular stablecoin, a crypto asset that aims to maintain a stable value relative to a specified asset or a pool or basket of assets. Very interesting. Now, coming back to what we were talking about and where we left off, why is any of this actually important about stablecoins being launched off of XLM or XRP? Well, I think the answer is the bond market. I have spoke about this before, but the bond market that currently exists today has essentially collapsed. It does not offer safe refuge for anyone and is about as unappealing as a funeral. The reality is that the bond market, if you look at the bottom, is a foundation of any successful monetary system. It's where confidence is because people buy the bonds that back and support the framework of your entire monetary system. With the current traditional monetary system and the bonds and the things that are happening now, which are absolutely dire, and we have not seen the last of the leg down in the markets. At 0.5% interest rates on bonds, there is a loss of confidence here. But there may be another way out. If they were to issue stable coins off of things like XLM and XRP, if they were to issue IOUs for XLM and XRP domestically and internationally based on the needs of the central banks and the domestic American banks, by ponying up collateral, good assets, just as was done in the Great Depression. And because they put up good collateral on the ledger, they would be issued IOUs off of these assets like XRP and XLM, which could be looked at as bonds. And off of those bonds, they could be issued stablecoin issuance. And the digital assets, XLM and XRP, actually help to become a brand new bond market, which I would suspect will offer returns that would cripple the traditional markets. This would bring confidence to a new financial system with new financial instruments, with better returns than the old system, but in fact could still reinvigorate the old system because you could cross these things together and mix these products and blend them, I believe, to restore confidence also in the old bond market. I am speculating till the cows come home. I want to be very clear about that. But why issue a stable coin or a global stable coin for either of them? Because if people put up collateral or groups of companies, entities, banking groups, anything, and they put up massive amounts of collateral and are issued stable coins off of those assets, you could then have a set price for that stable coin, while remaining a free market for the digital assets XLM and XRP. So in other words, you've just created a new market, but you've also provided a very stable coin, global or otherwise, on these assets so the markets can continue to grow for the digital assets, supporting the price set stable coin based on the value of collateral that's been put up, providing the liquidity for utility flow of payments that will happen across the world and domestically in the United States. I don't know if this is right, but it certainly feels like it. All right, guys, I wanted to make this video in large part so I could start a conversation, and hopefully between the little pieces and parts that we've discussed in many other videos, condense all of this down into one video where we really organize the thoughts, at least to where they are today. When I look at the digital asset space, I oftentimes try to superimpose the traditional markets over top of it and keep in mind that it won't look exactly the same. But it will need to have a lot of what comes from the traditional market framework, market infrastructure. To me, a real legitimate market that doesn't look like the Wild Wild West and looks more like regulatory framework, and some people would say to the extreme of government Orwellian control, this looks a little more doable for the digital asset space to not look like it's going to get run away with the Wild Wild West cowboys of the land. And that, to me, starts to make a lot of sense, because if you're going to have massive institutions and central banks around the world, and the top 7 largest banks consider using an asset, you better believe they're not going to lose when they choose to do it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Hit the like and subscribe. If you like the content, please share it on social media platform, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.